What some Obama officials were saying publicly was much different than what they were saying privately. But for 3 years, the American people were dragged through the mud and told that their choice for the President of the United States might have been a Russian asset. What some Obama officials were saying publicly was much different than what they were saying privately. James Clapper was out there saying that he had evidence that this was worse than Watergate, when in fact a few weeks later he was saying privately, I never saw any direct empirical evidence that the Trump campaign or someone in it was plotting or conspiring with Russia. Samantha Power said, I am not in possession of anything. I am not in possession and didn't read or absorb any information that came out of the intelligence community suggesting collusion. Ambassador Rice, I don't recall intelligence or evidence to that effect. Former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, I can't say that if it existed or not. I don't recall that being briefed up to me. So it brings the question to light. Why then did we have many years of investigating collusion that these Obama administration officials never existed, they never saw any evidence of, but for 3 years the American people were dragged through the mud and told that their choice for the President of the United States might have been a Russian asset based on no evidence at all. This president was exonerated by the Mueller report, and there are some real questions for these individuals who are saying one thing publicly and another thing privately.
A statement that Dr. Fauci made today, he said, I think we are going in the right direction, but the right direction does not mean we have by any means total control of this outbreak. How does that square with the president's statement yesterday that we have prevailed?
March 13th, the Washington Post headline was, South Korea is doing 10,000 coronavirus tests a day. The U.S. is struggling for even a small fraction of that. And here we are on May 11th with a Washington Post headline. The administration keeps bragging that the U.S. testing now is better than South Korea's was a month ago. So you can't demand that we reach South Korea and then say that we're bragging when we do. This is a moment where the American private sector succeeded. This administration mobilized that testing. Every state is better off than South Korea at this moment. And that is a very good thing and something to be celebrated because it's American innovation at its best with 92 emergency use authorizations. And it's this administration under President Trump working.
Dr. Fauci today stressed many times that reopening without following the federal guidelines and the gating criteria could lead to more outbreaks and could turn back the clock. Does President Trump still believe in these federal guidelines? And if so, why isn't he urging states to follow them?
We do want to reopen this country because there are consequences that run the other way when we stay closed down as a country. And I want to run through a few of those with you. A hotline run by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services saw a 1,000% increase in responses during April as we kept this country closed. Epic's data said appointments for screening for cancer of the cervix, colon, and breast were down 86% and 94% in March. There are real consequences for that. I'm a BRCA2, I carry a BRCA2 mutation, so I was someone who was regularly screened for breast cancer until I got my mastectomy. And when I went to my cancer hospital for screening, I didn't see as many people in the halls, and that is quite frightening because the consequence of that is this. According to the IQVIA Institute for Human Data Science, a total of 80,000 plus diagnoses of 5 common cancers in the United States are projected to be missed or delayed during the 3-month period of early March to early June, which is why this president has always said, go to your doctor, do your screenings. There's a way to safely do this. If you feel chest pain, go to your doctor. We can't scare people from going to hospitals. It's a consequence of staying closed, though. When people are scared, they're scared to even go to their doctor, and there are consequences for that. And finally, I would just point out a recent CNN article from Friday noted a national public health group that warned as many as 75,000 Americans could die because of drug or alcohol misuse and suicide as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. So there are consequences to us staying closed, and it's why I believe it was 8 medical groups came out with a statement. 8 medical groups noted concerns that some people with symptoms of heart attack, stroke, and cardiac arrest are avoiding hospitals.
It's been a while since we've seen Dr. Birx, though, for example. I mean, she is the coordinator of the coronavirus task force. When might we see her and be able to get an update from her and be able to ask questions of her?
Yeah, again, I don't know when in this capacity you will see her, but I talk to Dr. Birx regularly. In fact, I talked to her just before I came out here, because I had some questions about some funny numbers I heard from Senator Elizabeth Warren, and she helped me to correct those numbers, which I'd like to correct here, because I think it's unfair to the American people to give inflated case numbers and mortality numbers, because it leads to those same Americans making the decision to not get a mammogram, to not have the cancer screenings they need. So I'd like to just reveal to you some information Dr. Birx just shared with me. Elizabeth Warren erroneously said there were 25,000 new cases today. In fact, there were less than 20,000. Senator Warren said there were 2,000 deaths. In fact, there have been less than 1,000. I spoke with Dr. Birx about that. So I'd encourage our Democratic colleagues and all Americans to make sure we're putting out their good information, because it does have consequences.
We're seeing a White House report on locations to watch and with increased cases. Can you hear me okay?
You said locations to watch?
Locations to watch with increased cases. And we're seeing rates spiking in several spots in the Midwest, including Kansas City. Is this a concern of yours, and can you address it?
I did speak with Dr. Birx about this just before coming out, and I think you're referring to a document that was put out that wasn't a White House document. It was a FEMA document that looked at what was going on in the Midwest, and she made the point to me, she showed me a document that showed that these are isolated outbreaks, that where there are specific instances in, let's say, a meat processing facility or a prison where we isolate that there's a problem. We're able to contact trace and pretty quickly resolve the situation. She pointed out that in Des Moines there was a Dairy County meat packing facility, and that was a good example of where we were able to do that. So I would just say that, and this was a quote, this is proof that the system is working, that we're able to identify what the president said are embers and put them out. It's the system at work.